My name is Geordy Murphy, and I'm the director of iMental Health Counseling, and I am also a registered provisional psychologist, and I work with individuals, couples, and teens. It's really important that in order to set healthy boundaries, that we take a look at what are our core values? What are those things that are really important to us? This is going to help us to be able to set healthy boundaries when we know our core values. When we're setting boundaries according to our core values, we're moving towards the person that we want to be. When we're not setting boundaries according to our core values, we're moving away. When we're moving away from the person that we want to be, we're going to feel less healthy. For example, if family is really important to me, this is one of those life domains, but it can also be something I value. So if that's really high on my values, and I'm spending all my time on social media or playing video games, I'm not really living according to that core value. So that might be something to have to adjust in my life. So if you take a look at the boundaries handout that we have in the description box below, I don't even think I need to say that. No. But I can say as you take a look at the boundaries handout. Okay. So if you take a look at the boundaries handout, on the second page, you have life domains, value deficits, boundary adjustments. There's a bit of a chart there. You can see that there's a bunch of different life domains there. That's not all of them. You might actually add in some on your own. You can look at, first of all, you can look at your values. So on the very back, there's a whole list of different values that you can even star as those things that are really important to you and are your core. It's really hard to narrow them down sometimes for people because there's so many good values. On the first part of this chart, you can look at which life domain do you feel like you're moving away from your values. So if your value deficit is in work, so say you have, so the life domain is work and your value deficit is authenticity. So say this is one of your values that you feel like you're at work and you can't be authentic with your coworkers. What's your boundary adjustment going to be? So thinking about what is something that needs to change about your values, about your boundaries. Moving over, what thing can you change about your workplace? Is there maybe one person that you can trust, that you can maybe build a relationship with and get to know, if that's something that's important to you? And then thinking about what's the benefit of the change going to be. You might even think about what's the consequence of not changing. In the family life domain, what's the value deficit there? What value are you moving away from? And then you can look at what boundary adjustment do you need to make. Maybe it's in the area of time and energy, right? So maybe you find that you're not spending enough time with your partner. One thing to change, maybe that's having a date night or carving out some time for you guys to spend time together. What's the benefit of change? If you look at the friendship area, maybe your value deficit, maybe you're really longing for connection and you're not getting it. So connection, belonging. So the boundary adjustment, maybe that needs to be in the emotional, intellectual. One thing that you could change in the friendship domain, maybe it's connecting with that person each week, or finding time to connect with that person so you can have meaningful relationship. What's benefit of change? Well, connection, right? You're honoring that value of yours. Romance. So romance can even be a value, but it's in the life domain area. Maybe your value deficit is romance. Maybe you need more. Your boundary adjustment, is it in that area of maybe it's sexual boundaries, maybe it's emotional. One thing to change, right? Maybe it's doing that date night, planning sex in. Some people think that it has to be spontaneous, but actually sometimes it's better to actually plan that, so you both can be prepared, kind of prepare yourself mentally. And what's the benefit of change, right? So it's interesting. Benefit of change is usually that you feel better because you're honoring that value. In regards to technology, if we look at our value deficit, I think a lot of value deficits that we have in regards to technology can be even that intellectual boundary. So that is the sharing of our opinions and our beliefs. Are you spending lots of time on there trying to get your opinion heard by other people, and then finding it falls on deaf ears, or you don't feel validated by others? Where does the boundary adjustment need to be? It could be in time or energy, right? How much time are you spending on social media? It seems to be a real challenge for people. Maybe it's adjusting that time. So the one thing that to change is, maybe you decide, you know what, I'm going to spend an hour a day, or 15 minutes, rather than, every hour, 5 minutes every hour. Right? So maybe it's time, energy. Maybe it's changing how much you share. Maybe you don't share as much of your opinion because if it's stressing you out, it's really impacting you emotionally. So that might be something to change. And then finally, so life domain, I put emotions. Seems like a weird life domain, but I have it on there. Value deficit. Where's the deficit there in being able to openly share our emotions with others? What's the boundary adjustment there? Maybe it's, we decide that we have to adjust those boundaries around our emotions for ourselves. So how much time do I emotionally invest in something? Maybe that's something that we need to change. And then what's the benefit of change, right? So I think this is a very good way to just kind of like explore what you could change, what areas that you feel like you're moving away from those values of yours. Maybe there's some other life domains that you can think of that would be something to reflect on and see if you can make any adjustments to that. But I think the key here is that we really need to identify what those values are before we can start seeing how we move towards those values on a day-to-day basis, or how we move away from those values.